Greetings, and welcome back to the MCOC Encyclopedia. Today, we'll be continuing our journey into Act 6, covering all of the easiest paths. If multiple paths are an option in a quest, I will cover them all. Remember that these are just what I found easier, and your roster and experiences may vary. So let's dive in. Act 6, Chapter 4, Quest number 6. Reign. Well, everyone, we've finally made it. Thank you all so much for sticking with me. We're going to get you all through this, and I believe I provide advice in this video that I have never seen anywhere else. Before we get on to the boss, and I see you skipping there, we need a path. Your choice of path matters more in this quest than usual, as each path has a linked node to the Grandmaster that slightly changes what goes on in that fight. The path I would recommend is the Cosmic Path through the teleporter to exit A. Note the exit in the menu is labelled Opportunistic. I'll explain why we want this modifier when we get to the boss. The nodes on this path are Enhanced Buff Duration, Tenacity 3, and Fury. Enhanced Buff Duration increases the duration of the defender's buffs by 40%, and Fury has a 10% chance to give the defender a small Fury buff when you hit them. Fairly minor. The big issue here is Tenacity 3. The defender has a 75% chance to almost instantly purify any debuff applied to them, and this includes parry stuns. Mystic champions that don't rely on debuffs are our best options here. Absorbing Man, Black Widow Clairvoyant, Diablo with the Loki, Red Skull or Kingpin synergy, Doctor Doom, Juggernaut, Awakened Kushala, The Hood, Wiccan, Wong, and so on are all great options. The last fight on this path, Angela, has a couple of local nodes that are worth quickly looking at. These are Aggression Fury and Vigor. Aggression Fury will give Angela a stacking Fury every 2 seconds, but simply hitting her will remove them one at a time, and reset the timer until she can get another one. Vigor we have just seen on the Hydra Adaptoid. Angela will heal every 15 seconds, but if you can get it down past a multiple of 25%, the timer resets. Nothing too major here, just don't let those Furies stack up, or even block damage will really hurt. Looking at the path itself, we have 2 major defenders, Annihilus and Vision Arcus, and 1 minor defender, Heimdall. Bypassing Heimdall is fairly simple, as we just have to avoid his special 2, and then he becomes pretty easy. Annihilus and Vision Arcus, however, are a little trickier. We've just dealt with an even nastier Annihilus in 644, and we have a full Annihilus video on the channel, so this one shouldn't pose too much of an issue. Get rid of his Cosmic Control Rod by using Nullifies and Staggers, and you'll be fine. Our biggest issue, therefore, is Vision Arcus. He has his power gain buffs, and whilst you are close to him, if he has a power gain buff, he will armor break you. If you are armor broken whilst you are close to him, he will put cold snaps on you, dealing damage over time. Champions that are armor break immune, cold snap immune, or have excellent buff or power control are our top options here. Doctor Doom, Magic, Sorcerer Supreme, Absorbing Man in Magma form, Black Widow Clairvoyant, Kushala, and so on are all excellent options. Right before the boss, each path has a sentinel, but they are unnoded and are only used to control the modifying node on the Grandmaster. They have very little health and are really not worth talking about. A great place to pick up a pre-fight if you need it. And if this video is helping you at all, please defeat the sentinel on that like button. Right, it's time. The Grandmaster. Firstly, once you have watched this section, rewind and watch it again. You will most likely be thinking, I know all of this, but as soon as you go into the fight, everything you know will probably go out of your head. You need to know what is going on before it happens, or this fight is going to be expensive. The first thing you'll probably notice about the Grandmaster is he has nearly 10 million health, far more than any boss you have seen this far, and I think more than you will see again until you get the Necropolis Grandmaster. But that's a long way in the future. You don't need to feel threatened by this much health though. as you will have ways of increasing your damage in this fight by a lot. High damage output champions will still deal lots of damage, but even lower damage champions will put up some impressive numbers. What you must remember, and I don't think I've seen this emphasized enough anywhere else, is that this fight is like no other you have seen this far. You must change your mindset. In this fight, you are playing the Grandmaster's game. Do what he says and play by the rules, and you will be able to deal huge amounts of damage. Fail to do so, and you will die instantly. Before we dive into the meat of this fight, there are a few skills you need to have down. Firstly, your parries and dexes must be on point. If you are even slightly shaky on either of these, practice them until you are completely confident. Being able to reparry can also be really helpful near the end of the fight for landing parries back to back. You also must be able to intercept reliably. The AI may not always let you, but when it does, you must be able to take advantage of it. Without these skills, this fight will be much more painful and expensive. This fight may still be expensive even if you have these skills. I would recommend a minimum of 1,000 units or 25 revives in reserve for this fight alone, with potions to back them up. The Grandmaster has a few built-in abilities that are worth noting. Firstly, he only takes damage from direct strikes. Other sources of damage have no effect, though we will still want at least one, as we'll see later. Bursts of damage, damage over time, passives or debuffs do absolutely nothing. He also has a damage cap of 5% of his max health, or just under 500,000. You might think this is completely unnecessary, but even low damage champions will be able to put up these sort of numbers in the fight. We also can't modify his power bar or ability accuracy in any way, and he can't miss or be evaded or auto-blocked. Throughout this fight, you will gain green tokens of competence for doing good things, and red tokens of blunder for doing bad things. Tokens of competence increase your attack, but if you get to 5 tokens of blunder, the Grandmaster will instantly go to Special 3, and that is a 100% guaranteed instant death. Nothing gets around this. You die. That's it. Having 4 tokens of blunder, however, has absolutely no effect. It's only once you get to 5. During the Grandmaster's heavy attack, he will go unstoppable, and if you are hit by it, you will lose all of your tokens of competence. However, if you die, you can carry up to 5 tokens of competence onto your next try, so all is not lost. The Grandmaster's most important special attack is his Special 1. This will start off with an unblockable blast, and then the Grandmaster will roll a random combination of the following 3 actions: Dex, Block, and Get Hit. These actions will appear in his buffs bar, and with the 3 energy shots from the rest of the Special 1, you must perform these actions from left to right. He can roll 2 of the same, i.e. Dex, Block, Dex, but I've never seen him roll all 3 the same. I'm not saying it's impossible, I've just never seen it. So, if he rolled Get Hit, Dex, then Block, you must Get Hit by, Dex, then Block the following 3 attacks. Doing so correctly earns you a token of competence for each one, and also means you will take no damage from that blast. But getting it wrong gets you a token of blunder. Note, if you are struck by the initial beam, all 3 of the blasts gives you a token of blunder, regardless of whether he rolled Get Hit or not. Regardless of the last instruction, there is always time to dash in and punish the special. The Special 2 is really long, attacks almost constantly, and is basically impossible to dex. Best to just tank this one on the block. It will also drain all of your power. Avoid it where you can. And as a reminder, the Special 3 will kill you, game over. No questions. The Grandmaster fight comes in 4 phases, depending on how much health the Grandmaster has, with the first 3 being fairly similar in approach. Note that the Grandmaster has no regeneration at all, so once you complete a phase, you will never go back to it. After you complete each phase, you will lose all of your tokens, so this can be good and bad, and both of you will lose all of your power. The Grandmaster will then prepare for the next phase by playing extremely defensively. Neither champion will gain power, and the Grandmaster can't take damage at all during this phase. He will then be infuriated, where, again, neither champion can gain power, and the Grandmaster can't take damage, but this time he will be very aggressive and also unblockable. Note, if you die and go again, the fight will start with the Grandmaster being infuriated, so watch out for him being unblockable straight away. Phase 1. 100 to 80% health. In this phase, neither of you can gain power, and if you don't make contact with the Grandmaster for 10 seconds, you will gain a small amount of continuous degen damage. The timer is paused during Grandmaster's special attacks. What you have to do in this phase is perform 3 actions until they are banned. These are parry, light attack, and dex. I would recommend parrying and then doing slow light attacks until light attacks are banned, then just parry until that is banned, and then just dexing attacks until dex is banned. Doing something that is banned gets you a token of blunder, but performing an intercept gets you a token of competence. Once all actions are banned, he will then unban them all, and the Grandmaster will gain his special 1. Follow the instructions on the special 1, and after he finishes that special 1, he will become wounded, and this is where you can deal some serious damage. For each token of competence you have, you will gain 200 critical rating, and 380% attack increase. Even if you have just the 3 tokens from the special 1, that is still over a 1000% damage increase. This is why you need to change your mindset in this fight. These tokens are your main source of damage. Repeat this until you have him down to 80%, then he will prepare for the next phase, get infuriated, and then it's time for phase 2. As a purely personal recommendation, if you can't get this phase down with 1 or 2 champions, you will struggle with the rest of this fight. It only gets harder from here. Back out, think about why you struggled and what you died to, practice, and come back with a plan. This guy is tough, and there is no shame in stopping. It's much cheaper too. Phase 2, 79 to 30% health. This is the bulk of the fight. From this point on, the Grandmaster is immune to all stun debuffs. In this phase, you can now gain up to 1 bar of power as well, and the Grandmaster will gain 10% of a bar of power each time you hit him. Above 1 bar of power, this is doubled. You really want to avoid that special 2, so best to stop hitting him as soon as he is above 1 bar of power, bait it out, and get some extra tokens of competence. During this phase, the Grandmaster will assign the following 5 challenges in a random order. You have 10 seconds to complete each challenge. Success gives you a token of competence, but failure gives you a token of blunder. Once all 5 challenges have cycled through, whether you have succeeded or not, the Grandmaster will be wounded and you can go for your big damage. The 5 challenges are: whiff an attack, i.e. throw it into air or such that it doesn't hit, land a critical hit, perform an intercept, gain a buff, and inflict a damaging effect. This is why we needed a champion that can inflict a damaging effect, even though this effect will deal no damage. Pretty much any form of red damage will work fine here. Damage over time debuffs are the simplest, but other sources of red damage should also work fine. We can't progress on the challenges during the Grandmaster's special attack though. For example, if you have the gain a buff challenge and you dex the unblockable beam on the special 1, this won't count as it is during the special attack. Remember that the special 1 will still give extra tokens in this phase, so both good and bad. Make sure you learn the list of challenges well, as it can be very helpful in the fight after you've done 3 or 4 to know what the next one's going to be. If you've done land a critical hit, perform an intercept, gain a buff, and inflict a damaging effect, you know the only challenge left is whiff an attack. Therefore you can just back up, wait for the challenge to come on, tap a light into thin air, and the Grandmaster will be instantly wounded. You knew what was going to happen and you took advantage of it. Phase 3, 29 to 2% health. This phase is fairly similar to Phase 2, but with a few key differences. Firstly, the Grandmaster now gains power over time, 7% of a bar of power per second, and this slowly goes up over time. We also have a new set of challenges, and you only have 8 seconds to complete them now, rather than 10. Finally, these challenges can be repeated, so you could get the same challenge 5 times in a row before the Grandmaster becomes wounded. This can be both good and bad, depending on what you get. The challenges here are stand still for a few seconds, knock him down once, parry 2 or 3 times, dash back 3 or 4 times, and strike his block 4 or 5 times. The big problem in this phase, though, is that after 42.5 seconds, your controls are inverted for 8.5 seconds, and both timers are paused during the Grandmaster's special attacks. This will pretty much perfectly line up with your 4th challenge, or the 5th one if you've been doing them quickly. And there's a good chance it will just mess you up before he is wounded, meaning you can't get your big damage in. Again, in this phase, we can't progress on the challenges during the Grandmaster's special attacks. Potentially unique tip number 2. If you're doing okay for tokens of blunder, and are at no risk of getting to 5, it can be worth purposefully failing the 5th challenge and getting that token of blunder, but playing super slowly and carefully with the inverted controls to make sure you aren't killed. They're only 8.5 seconds. It is much better to get a token of blunder but push him to be wounded, rather than spending a revive and not getting any damage in. Remember, tokens of blunder by themselves do nothing. Phase 4, 2% to KO. In this phase, the Grandmaster is infuriated for 18 seconds, and this is a really long time. He's also permanently unstoppable and will play super aggressively. If you can intercept him successfully, the unstoppable is removed for 1.2 seconds, or about enough time for 3 hits. All you have to do in this phase is survive. You last for 18 seconds, then the Grandmaster becomes permanently wounded, and you can finish him off with your special 3. This phase is why we chose the Opportunistic modifier for this path. The Grandmaster's wounded phases are 30% shorter because of this, meaning we can't get quite as much damage in, but his infuriates are cut in half. Lasting 18 seconds against a super aggressive, fully unblockable, and unstoppable opponent can be extremely difficult. But cutting it down to just 9 means that if you're in his corner when the phase starts, you can just slowly dash back, bait out a few heavies, and by the time you reach your corner, the time has run down. There is no way around this phase. You have to survive. You can throw a lot of units at this phase and get nowhere. Choosing this modifier is really helpful. And that's the whole fight. Now go back and rewatch that section like I said to, and then maybe do it again. You watched it? Again? Right. So what do we need for this fight? Well, actually, nothing. At all. Any champion can do it. But what is helpful? Well, some sort of damaging effect makes getting through phase 2 a little smoother. This could be anything, but it's best to have something that is easily accessible. The bleed on Groot's special 3, for example, is useless, because it'd be way too slow to reach during this challenge, and we're locked to special 1s in phase 2 anyway. The bleed on Blade's parry, the shock on Doom's medium, the burst on Colossus's parry, the red damage on all of Red Hulk's hits, and so on, are all great examples. Yes, you can use Hercules. The other thing to think about is those reverse controls. If you are completely happy with them, congratulations, you are the 1%. For everyone else, some options. Some champions are immune to reverse controls, and they can be really helpful. They also didn't exist when the Grandmaster was first released, so consider yourself lucky. Juggernaut, Moondragon, and Wiccan are the 3 that come to mind, and Moondragon and Wiccan have easy access to red damage. Moondragon's pre-fight can also provide reverse control immunity to one other champion. As I said before, damage isn't something you need to focus on here, so some really tanky champions can also help. Regen and other forms of survivability are also really nice. Colossus, Doom, Rintrah, Sasquatch, and so on can all help you stay in this fight that bit longer. Remember that evades, miss, and auto blocks don't work in this fight. So, our ideal team. As long as we have a few mystics, the path shouldn't be much of an issue, which leaves 5 spaces for the boss. Use the champion swapper if you need it. If you have a champion on your team that you don't think will be good for the boss fight, simply swapping in Heimdall to save you can be a really good option, though this won't save you against the Grandmaster's Special 3. Doom is an excellent all-round counter that can be used on the path, so he is coming for sure. Juggernaut, another Mystic, is reverse control immune, so I'll be bringing him, but I will save him for Phase 3. Full disclaimer, I have never soloed the Grandmaster, and I don't expect this time to be any different. I have done it itemless, but planning when is best to use each champion can be really important. Colossus is also really tanky, and could be a good champion to start with, so he takes slot number 3. This leaves us with 2 slots. Wiccan is another Mystic, and he's also reverse control immune, so he takes slot 4. And finally, Moondragon for her reverse control immunity, energy damage, and pre-fight will be taking slot 5. Fairly soon, after this video goes out, I will try and get up a long commentated video of me going through this path with the exact team I suggest. It'll be much more relaxed, but should hopefully give you some more insight into how I look at getting around these issues. I will also answer any questions I find in the comments in that video, so please leave yours down below. Did you rewatch that section? Go rewatch it again. As always, remember that this is story content, so it won't be going anywhere anytime soon. If you find yourself stuck here, and I know you want to get through it, if you find yourself stuck here and spending lots of resources, stop and focus on something else. The monthly event quest and side quests are great places to pick up more materials, shards, and units, as are battlegrounds and the arena. So that's it. Everything you need to know to clear 6.4.6 and the entire of the easy parts of Act 6. A huge thank you to everyone for sticking with me and getting through this together. It has been a great trip, and I really love seeing people on my Discord server coming in as beginner or intermediate, and then watching their colour change when they finally beat the Grandmaster and become advanced. Please join the Discord server link below, share your successes, or drop a comment on the video if it's helped you at all. Coming up next, I finally need to make the Bullseye Defender video. I've been promising him for far too long. But after that, I'm fairly open. More defenders are always an option. I might do a few champion showcase videos, as I have a few interesting champions ranked in my roster. Could be fun to have a look at. And then we can dive into Act 7. I've considered doing a 100% Act 6 guide, but doing it at this level of detail is going to take years and hundreds of videos. Maybe? I don't know. That's something to think about. I've also been prompted a few times recently for a relics guide, which, again, maybe. We'll have to see about that one. I'm always open to people's suggestions. I've had a few requests to do Photon as a defender as well, and I hate fighting her, so I might do her soon as well. If you have any questions, please do leave them down below, and as always, there's all the YouTube stuff. Thank you, and I will see you next time.